Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and I'm taking care of business. Joining me today is Elton Ash, who is Regional Executive Vice President for RE/MAX Canada. Thanks, Elton, for joining us again.
Great to be with you, Mario.
Well, let's talk real estate, obviously. And RE/MAX has a new report out today, Canada Housing Market Outlook to 2027. Right, 2027.
27, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what are the key things that came out of this report from your perspective?
Well, what we're looking at here, and we're working with CIBC Capital Markets and Benjamin Tell, their economist, and looking forward, because real estate is a long-term investment, and sometimes that gets forgotten about in all the hype that we hear, especially over the past 2 years, about how the market, huge recovery with the full lockdown of the pandemic 2 years ago at this time, and how real estate just took off in the summer of 20 to where we are today. And there's all this hype, and oftentimes we get drawn into it and we don't look at really the long-term advantage that real estate is about, and what does all this hype mean when we look 5 years down the road when it comes to real estate. So obviously there are some concerns that we are right now vis-a-vis the Ukraine war and how that instability is going to affect things, inflation, how the Bank of Canada reacts to that, and then ultimately immigration and the effects, long-term effects of all those three factors at this point in time. Because this report, we're kind of going to be looking at other factors in the coming months as well. So this isn't a single report, it's actually a series that we're going to be releasing in the coming months as we do the research on it as well.
Okay, super. Then let's talk about a couple of those aspects that you kind of referred to. First of all, interest rates. Where do the interest rates enter into the future of the market and how the market's going to do?
Well, naturally, of course, vast majority of buyers borrow money when they're buying a home, and so Bank of Canada and the long-term point of interest rates is critical to the health and stability of a real estate market. And we historically, when we have seen the Bank of Canada jump interest rates successive times in a short period of time, it has always led to recession. And this is a historical phenomenon. I mean, if interest rates get bumped slowly in a step process, say 4 times a year, that's stable. Canadians and business aren't surprised by it, and long-term plans are made. But when there are a number of increases, say 6 to 8 increases in a year, that could be a half-point jumps instead of quarter-point jumps, then there's instability introduced into the economy overall, and recession occurs. Whether that's short or long-term, it will vary. So that is where the importance of how the Bank of Canada approaches this.
All right. I wanted to talk about the 3 worries of Canadian consumers when they're looking. One's taxation, one's interest rates, obviously, and of course the third one is recession. We talked about interest rates. Can you talk a little bit about what are the concerns when it comes to taxation?
Well, there has been, for lack of a better description, rumor that given the revenue that our governments need, whether that municipal, provincial, federal, but especially federal right now, with the pandemic relief that was provided, how is that going to get paid for? And so that's where taxation becomes, because there has been, and I'll use that word again, rumor about the capital gains and principally owned residences, of which as Canadians, we enjoy the opportunity that equity gains provide in our home without being taxed on it when we sell it. And then finally in an estate type of situation. And so there's a concern that about this. Now, successive governments in the past, when this topic has come up, have always said, no, we're not touching that. That would be political suicide. And certainly our research shows that that is still the nature but we've also seen governments flip-flop, so historically, and so that is certainly a concern. We look at property tax with municipalities, that's typically pretty conservative, and we don't see that changing a great deal. And then we have the foreign buyer tax and vacancy tax, especially in British Columbia and Toronto. Again, such a small segment of the market that's not a huge concern. So it ultimately boils down to this capital gains concern.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, Elton, ask you a little bit about the Calgary market. We're coming into the end of March right now. I understand through my sources that March of last year was a record year for MLS sales. Of course, the whole year was a record year, but March itself was a record year. We're, a couple of days left still in the month, and I'm seeing 45% year over year gain in MLS sales in Calgary over a record year and a record month. I don't understand it. Can you explain what's going on?
Well, Alberta, and surprise, surprise, look where oil is today, pricing wise. And so there's lots of confidence. Heck, there's not giving you a deficit. Who knew that, right? At least projected. We saw the signs of this at the end of February when we got those month-end stats with inventory levels increasing, which has been a serious concern right across the country. Calgary also saw those inventory increases, and so that is certainly feeding the demand that's there. And Calgary is enjoying this positive economic situation right now, hence housing is in big demand, and we've got inventory to match it. So not a big surprise, kinda, but still huge market.
Yeah, no end in sight from what you understand of what's happening in the market.
No end in sight, subject to what we just spoke about, where the Bank of Canada goes with this battle against inflation. Now, the good news is CIBC economics and other economic pundits out there are saying that inflation will come in control this fall. So if that happens, we're in for another pretty positive cycle for the rest of the year.
All right, super. Thanks, Elton, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
All right, that was Elton Ash, who is Regional Executive Vice President for RE/MAX Canada. I'm Mario Toneguzzi. This has been Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us today.